Happy New Year, everyone, from Abu Dhabi. This is Tom Funk with my Abu Dhabi adventure. It's great back once again for this new year, sharing you with my experiences living in Abu Dhabi. If you've been following along on the Tom Funk's Worldly Adventures Facebook page, you know that I was home for 3 weeks in December. I survived my trip home, albeit I never experienced any warm weather, and I was in southern Texas for a week. And yes, we were affected by the blizzard and were delayed getting home by 4.5 days to stay in Atlanta when it was 0 degrees and Racine, Wisconsin with Susan's family. So, lots of fun. What an adventure. Now that I am back, I finally had that shoulder surgery I put off right before I left for the United States. I really didn't want to get a surgery here in Abu Dhabi and deal with any complications while in the U.S., so I just let my 75% tear in one rotator cuff tendon and a 40% tear in another. It's probably caused by a lifetime of wearing a backpack wherever I go. Interestingly enough, the backpack finally wore out as well, and I had to retire it. So just so you know, I had a JanSport when I started college. That thing lasted 20 years, and I had another JanSport which lasted 15 years, and I'm going to go with another JanSport. So there you go. There's your product plug for the podcast. Anyways, I returned beginning of the year, had my surgery that first Thursday of the new year. I spent the night in the hospital and was discharged the next day. And I just had my follow-up appointment, and the shoulder is returning to normal. I am forbidden from driving, so no adventures that you'll see us take probably for another 2 or 3 weeks. I do hope to take one in February. I'm kind of planning on a kind of a outdoorsy, naturalistic trip up into the Dubai area to hang out with some of my naturalist types. So stay tuned for that. The weather here in Abu Dhabi is cool and cloudy most days. It rained intermittently while we were gone and a couple times upon our return. So the highs barely make it into the low 70s, and the lows are in the low 60s. A lot of folks running around in winter coats, hats, and gloves. The thing is, I don't remember it being this cool last year. This is about the time I moved into my apartment. I do remember this cooler weather lasting until mid-March, and then, Susan and Nathaniel came in the beginning of April, and it was still decent enough outside during the day. So the cool weather should last us for a while. Work is still progressing. We still continue to hire and train, and I should have upwards of 50 employees in a few months. Our opening date hasn't been officially set yet, but it should happen sometime this year. Yeah, that's vague. That's all I'm going to give you for right now. But trust me, you'll hear all about it when the date is announced. Since I don't have much to tell you, since I've not done very much, been gone, and now I'm back, I'm kind of sedentary here in the apartment, and not allowed to drive or really go and do anything, I thought I'd share some observations or reflections of living here in the past year. Basically, other people's perceptions of America, I guess, is what I'll share. You may remember I came to Abu Dhabi December 4th of 2021, and it was to work for SeaWorld. And the thing is, I work with folks from about 80 different countries, from Colombia to Australia to Portugal to Namibia. Definitely a melting pot of languages, cultures, and religions. And living overseas allows you to talk to these folks and see their perception on the world and the United States, since they hear a lot about us in their news media. So, like I said, some observations. The first thing I noticed when I moved here was that groceries were 10 to 20% less than at home. Gasoline is considerably cheaper as well, and when I went to rent an apartment, it's no more than what I'd pay in Grand Rapids. The median rent in Grand Rapids is about $1,800 USD for what I have, and I pay about 25% less than that. And mine is a brand new apartment in a gated community, and I'm on the water. Health insurance, big difference here is employers are mandated to have it. I pay no premiums. I only pay co-pays. I have private insurance, and I use private doctors. So since I've been here, I had a very minor heart attack. I've had this shoulder issue. My out-of-pocket costs in U.S. dollars is under $500 easily. And again, I'm not paying any premiums out of my paycheck. So that is very cool that the employer takes care of that stuff. So another thing, too, is it's less expensive as well. So when I had my heart attack, I got my bill, and they have an app, like everything's on an app here, and I look at the app, and I can see the total bill and all the invoices and stuff, and I'm like, I thought they were underbilling me. So when I called them up, I said, hey, this doesn't seem right. What's going on? Well, think for yourself. Think to yourself for a second. How much do you think a heart attack would cost in the United States? $100,000, $250,000, $50,000? How much do you think? Come up with a number in your head. All right, got that number? Well, my heart attack was just shy of 5,000 USD. And I'm like, how is that? So when I was talking to them, I says, I think you left off a zero off the end of my bill. And they asked me, hey, where are you from? Of course, I say America. And then they informed me that the reason the cost is lower here is mostly due to the UAE does not have an overly bloated insurance system, the bureaucracy, and the inflation of prices brought on by the subsidized insurance scheme we now have in the United States. Thought that was pretty interesting. So the cost is less, and it sounds like it's because the insurance industry doesn't have their fingers in the very much in the pie. In addition, the efficiency here is amazing as well. When I met with my primary doctor to go over my MRI for my shoulder to see what was wrong, he looked at it and he said, okay, I'm going to have you go talk to the specialist. And then after you talk to the specialist, if you need surgery, you're going to go talk to the surgeon. And then after you talk to the surgeon, you're going to talk to the anesthesiologist. Okay, great. I'm thinking to myself, how long is that going to take? Well, again, think to yourself, all right, I have to see my regular doctor, the specialist, a surgeon, and an anesthesiologist. What would that take? 4 different appointments over a week, 2 weeks, a month? Think in your head how long that would take. Well, in my situation, I saw 4 doctors in under an hour. An hour. They were all on the same floor, all on the same page. I was there on a Tuesday, and my surgery was booked for a Thursday. So I was just flabbergasted that they were able to take care of it this quickly. And I'm thinking it'd be several weeks in the United States to get that all taken care of. These doctors are probably all in different offices, and they had to make appointments and all that. So that was pretty cool that I was able to get it done very quickly. I had mentioned the cost of living with food and with rent. There's this really cool website called Numbeo, Numbeo.com, where you can enter 2 different cities and compare prices. So what folks do is they go in there and they enter real-world pricing into the database, like how much does a can of beef cost, how much is a gallon of milk, that kind of stuff, and then they do comparisons. So I did that for Abu Dhabi versus Grand Rapids. Overall, it tells me consumer prices in Grand Rapids are about 30% higher than what they are here in Abu Dhabi, and I would say that's pretty true. I'll give you an example. Today I bought a 20 ounce, or approximately 20 ounce, it's whatever the mill here is, I think it's 320 here, bottle of Pepsi, and it was just shy of $1, and that's in a grocery store. So I thought, wow, back home that would have been easy. What's a bottle of pop going for these days? $2 American? So, that's an example. So I mentioned rent prices were less. Restaurant prices are about 15% less here. Groceries are considerably higher in Grand Rapids than they are here in Abu Dhabi. So why is that? Well, there are no income taxes or property taxes in the United Arab Emirates. Therefore, as hard as it is for some people to get this in their heads and get their heads around this, the fact is that taxes in the United States are passed on as higher costs to consumers. Well, no taxes here to pass on, so a big part of that is because they don't have taxes to pass on as an extra cost. The second factor is, sure you're all aware you guys are experiencing some serious inflation because of all the money printing and spending that the government has been doing over the past 3 years. So more money sloshing around, chasing the same goods, prices go up. We haven't had that here. So we haven't seen this big uptick in prices like you have in the United States. So it seems to me to be cheaper to live here, slightly less. But in any case, it is cheaper. A lot of folks, when I took the job, are like, oh my gosh, it's so expensive to live there. It's just not. It's just not expensive. Another thing that I've noticed here is, and I kind of knew this coming in, is car culture. You've seen the photos I've been sharing of all the Maseratis, the Bentleys, the Lotuses, etc., and of course Ferraris. People make insane amount of money here, and they find it necessary to buy a nice ride. Now, there's folks from America who we have a car culture. A lot of folks that move here, either in countries where they can't afford a car or they have great public transportation. This is the case in a lot of folks coming from Europe. They can get around on trains and buses. Well, here it seems like every American that I know has went out and bought a car with the exception of me. I'm kind of scratching my head. I'm trying to think everybody who I know who's from the United States has bought a car. I haven't, because I found that I can get around on public transportation, and if I have to use a taxi, and if I really have to, I can rent a car, and renting a car here is about the same cost as it is back in the United States. So, like for today, for example, I used the bus 3 times to get around, and it cost me 6 dirhams, which is less than $2 American. So there you go. Cars are not expensive here. Good used cars, since there's so many of them, the price is really low on them. And I admire the folks, and there are quite a few. They go out and they look and they search and they find a really good deal on a used car. There's a gentleman that I work with that found a Porsche that is, 7, 8 years old. And he paid, it was far less than $10,000 for this Porsche, and it's in great condition. So, good for him. Then there are folks that go out to the car dealerships and buy brand new cars, and then, I ask them, hey, how much did you pay for this? And they tell me, and I want to cough up a hairball. It seems to be pretty expensive for buying a new car here. You got to finance it, you got to have insurance and all that stuff. Well, it's just going to sit for 23 and a half hours a day, and that's kind of how I look at it. I'm not going to get a car because I can get around using public transportation, using a taxi, and renting on occasion when I need to. And I do the math. I sit down once a month, do my finances, and it is far cheaper to do what I am doing than to buy a car. Now, when Susan gets here eventually, if I have to buy a car, I'm going to look for a good used car because I know I can find a deal. So, cars, people love them here, especially if you're from America. Like I said, most Americans tend to have a car. Let's see. What else? Politics. That's an interesting thing here. In the United States, we all want to kill each other. You're either in the red camp or the blue camp, or some of us are in the, in the yellow camp. And here, we don't talk about it. People, they don't ask. About the only thing I ever get is I'll get asked, hey, what do you think of Donald Trump? Or, and I'll get asked, hey, what's wrong with your president? He seems to be, tired. I'm like, well, he's 80 years old. The man's old. That's about it. They're just kind of curious. I don't sit down, have knockout, drag out conversations about politics here. First, it's kind of taboo. 2, I really don't want to know what people's politics are. So, I rarely talk politics, and it's probably a good thing because my stress level has gone down a whole bunch, and I'm not paying too close attention to what's going on in the United States, except through the lens of some of the Arab newspapers over here, and I find them a hoot. If you want an education on what the world thinks of the United States, don't look at European newspapers. Go east. Go to Saudi Arabia, Jordan, even Israel, and read their papers, and you'll get an interesting take on what people think of us. It's pretty interesting. And finally, work and family. Unlike in the United States, work is not who you are here. It is not your identity. How you live your life, how you take care of others, do good deeds, and take care of your family is how you are defined. The West practices individualism. Here in the East, it is all about taking care of the community, taking care of your family, taking care of others. You will sacrifice to take care of others. It's altruism over individualism. When I see this manifest itself, it is usually when an American gets sick. They'll come in, they'll be sniffling, sneezing, coughing, and generally be miserable. And that seems to be normal in the United States. People come in when they're sick. Here, well, we get 14 sick days a year, and if you come in sick, we send you home. End of story. Go home. We don't want you around us. You're sick. The job will still be here. It's not the end of the world. So that message has been delivered, is if you're not feeling well, you do not come in. Family life, it is more important than work life. When a personal matter comes up, you take care of it. If you need to leave, you leave. We get an insane amount of sick days and annual leave, and we use it. And it's available to use it for taking care of, your family. This is especially emphasized when we have a new employee, when they're getting here. There's all these crazy bureaucracy things and permits and renting apartments and all kinds of stuff they got to do. So take care of yourself first is what we tell folks. The job will be here. All right, well, that's some list, eh? It's quite different living here, and this is not like moving from Michigan to Miami. I'm in a whole different ecological, economic, religious, and philosophical regime here in the Middle East. And I don't look like your typical expat coming here either. I'm older, I'm a little lighter in skin, and I'm definitely in the minority for both characteristics. And when I walk around town, I go to the mall, I go downtown, nobody could care less. They could care less what I look like. It's awesome. There's people from all over the planet, all different colors and ethnicities and, cultures and everything else. It's great. So, no one pays attention to what I look like. So, well, except the taxi drivers. They, all the good Westerners are fair because we apparently are ready to go when they show up. So that's always funny. They'll always comment on that. It's like, thanks for being here, because apparently a lot of folks hail a taxi using an app, and then they got to wait 10 minutes for them to show up. All right. Thanks for joining me today here on Tom Funk's Abu Dhabi Adventure. Follow my shenanigans on social media. I changed the name of my Facebook page. Now it's called Tom Funk's Travelogue, which basically better reflects what I'm doing. And that's also the name of the Instagram and the YouTube channels as well. And, hey, if you're listening to this for the first time, please click on follow, and you'll get notifications when new podcasts are released, which I'm doing about once a month right now. So hopefully on my next podcast, we'll have visited a cool attraction, done something cool. Like I said, it's probably going to be up in Dubai. I'm going to be doing some nature-type stuff, and looking forward to doing that. Looking forward to talking to you guys and sharing with you my adventures here in Abu Dhabi. And with that, thanks again. This is Tom Funk, and we will see you in a month.